91.7%. Those were the odds of the Seattle Mariners making the playoffs back in mid-June, a time when this team consistently came through in the clutch and pitched lights out nearly every game, resulting in a 10-game lead in the AL West, the largest lead among every division leader. For many reasons, this hot streak was never going to last, but the ways in which this team has crumbled back to earth has been astonishing.
And say goodnight to the Mariners. The Angels have beaten them again. More boos from the crowd here at T-Mobile Park as the Mariners offense was silenced.
In addition to their combination of a lousy OPS and a batting average that sits below the historically awful White Sox, the Mariners became the first team ever to surpass 1,000 strikeouts by the All-Star break. Even though this team attempted to address their issues at the trade deadline, the odds of watching this team in this year's postseason are plummeting by the day. So, what's going on here?
As the Orioles give up 1 run in 2 games.
2-pitch swing and a drive, deep to right field, stay fair, the Mariners end the 20-year drought on a walk-off home run by Cal Raleigh.
With this home run, the Mariners clinched their first playoff berth in over 2 decades. While the team was swept in the ALDS for the first time in a long time, the future was bright in Seattle. Led by rookie sensation Julio Rodriguez, all-star Ty France, and sluggers Cal Raleigh and Eugenio Suarez, this team routinely showcased their ability to get on base and hit home runs. However, there was still plenty of room for improvement, so the Mariners shuffled their team a bit, most notably by acquiring outfielder Teoscar Hernandez, a 2-time Silver Slugger winner, but who is also prone to the occasional strikeout. Unfortunately, these strikeout issues not only plagued Hernandez's 2023 season, but the 2023 Mariners as a whole, a team characterized by the 3 true outcomes: strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Labeled as the 3 true outcomes because none of these outcomes are influenced by the defense beyond the pitcher and catcher, MLB's 3 true outcome rate has risen significantly over the past decade as teams sacrifice strikeouts for the run certainty of home runs. In 2023, the Mariners' 3 true outcome rate was 38.1%, the second highest of any team. The main culprit? Strikeouts. Still, compared to 2022, the Mariners improved offensively. In fact, they were one of only 9 teams to possess both an OPS plus and ERA plus of at least 105, meaning they were above average in terms of hitting and pitching. So, why didn't the Mariners make the playoffs? Well, to their credit, they fought until the bitter end, ultimately falling just 1 game short of a playoff spot. Digging deeper into this 88-win record, there's one glaring flaw: extra inning games. The Mariners lost a league-worst 14 of these contests. Due to the implementation of the ghost runner, teams who often put the ball in play and avoid striking out are more likely to succeed in extra innings. In 2023, the 2 best extra inning teams by winning percentage, the Braves and Nationals, thrived in these areas. The Mariners were the opposite. While volatile records such as extra inning and 1-run games aren't predictors of future success, these losses placed a spotlight on the flaws of this all-or-nothing lineup. To address these flaws, the team traded Eugenio Suarez and Jared Kelenic while letting Teoscar Hernandez walk in free agency. That's 3 players with strikeout rates over 30%, but also a fair amount of offensive production to let go. To recoup some of this production, the Mariners acquired Mitch Garver, Jorge Polanco, and Luke Raley, as well as reuniting with Mitch Haniger, who in 2021 hit 39 home runs as a Mariner. While the strikeout rates of these new acquisitions didn't indicate a drastic identity shift, there was still reason to believe this offense should put the ball in play more often. However, that's not what happened.
The 1-2. Hey!
He struck him out, and it's still 1-0 Atlanta after 8.
In fairness to Mitch Haniger, I wouldn't expect any player to make contact with this pitch, but striking out when a go-ahead run is on base is always frustrating, especially when it already happened multiple times in the same game. In fact, not only do the Mariners lead the league in swinging strikeouts, they also possess the most swinging strikeouts when the go-ahead run is on base. Instead of a roster that puts the ball in play more often, the Mariners possess some of the lowest contact rates in the league. A combination of low contact and lots of strikeouts isn't exactly a predictor for success, but for a while, these numbers didn't matter.
And a moment here for Mitch Garver and the Mariners.
And the lefties, 3-2 on the way, swinging a fly ball, deep to left field. Goodbye, baseball. A walk-off 2-run home run.
With one swing of the bat, those infuriating strikeouts were forgotten, and for a while, that's how this team operated. Between opening day and June 18th, the peak of this team's playoff odds, the team's overall offensive stats weren't exactly encouraging. However, in high-leverage situations, this was a completely different team. Guys like Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and JP Crawford all possessed a WRC plus over 200 in high-leverage situations. Granted, the sample sizes were extremely small, but all that mattered at the time was the Mariners had a 10-game lead in the AL West, a lead built not only from their success in extra inning games, one-run games, and close games in general, but an elite pitching staff featuring 5 of the league's top 50 pitchers according to FWAR. Overall, this team seemed destined for the playoffs as long as they held on to their momentum. Although, in a season as volatile as an MLB season, that's wishful thinking.
He's got it. Say goodnight to the Mariners, and they are booing the Mariners as they fall out of first place.
A 3-game sweep by the Angels? Yeah, that's definitely enough for a fan base to give up hope. I should know. I watched it happen right in front of me a couple months ago. I don't think what we're doing right now is sustainable from an offense and pitching standpoint. We cannot lean on our pitching staff that heavily all year long. We have to figure it out on the offensive front. Mitch Garver said this back in late May, and unfortunately, he was right. A month defined by immense frustration, or 24 games to be specific, is all it took for the Mariners to squander their 10-game division lead, marking this collapse as the shortest span a team has ever lost a double-digit divisional lead since 1969. Check out this game on July 7th. Following home runs from Mitch Garver and Victor Robles, this team was up 3 runs heading into the 6th inning. Not only did they lose the lead, they left the bases loaded in the 8th, 9th, and 10th innings, ending the game with a total of 15 runners left on base and a 1-run loss. A type of loss this team suffered repeatedly throughout their month-long collapse. Like Mitch Garver said, what they were doing before wasn't sustainable. After all, the Mariners possess one of the highest 3 true outcome rates ever, as 39.8% of their at-bats end in a strikeout, walk, or home run. To put it simply, the Mariners don't hit enough home runs to balance out their league-worst batting average and historically awful strikeout rate, which is on track to become the worst strikeout rate in league history. This team lives and dies by the 3 true outcomes, and as proven by their month-long skid, it can be a maddening experience, but also, in some ways, confusing. Check out these numbers: exit velocity, hard hit rate, barrel rate. Despite the fact all these numbers rank around top 5 league-wide, the team's average and slugging percentage are among the league's lowest. Also, comparing these StatCast numbers to last season, they're nearly identical, yet the results differ greatly. What's going on here? Well, this year, the Mariners have hit more ground balls, more fly balls, and less line drives, the type of batted ball that leads to the most success. As minuscule as a 1.4% difference may seem, it's ultimately the difference between an above-average line drive rate and one of the league's lowest. After all, in baseball, slim margins are often the difference between an exhilarating victory and soul-crushing loss. And as we've discovered, Mariners fans have dealt with both extremes in bunches, especially at home. This is T-Mobile Park, not only the home of the Seattle Mariners, but a notorious pitcher's park due to its spacious outfield and low elevation, which according to meteorologist and Professor Cliff Mass, causes the ball to not travel as far as in other stadiums. Also, as mentioned by former Mariners executive Jeff Kingston, if hitters square a ball up and don't get rewarded, they start to change their swing and it wears on them mentally. In fact, Teoscar Hernandez stated that he never felt comfortable in T-Mobile Park. Since leaving, his production has rebounded massively. Ultimately, it's clear the Mariners' home ballpark suppresses offense in ways that are difficult to overcome. So, why are they so much better at home this year? This team performed better at home last year than on the road this year. Similarly, their home and away ERAs have widened too. But while their performance on the road has worsened, their home ERA is by far the league's best. Considering T-Mobile Park is even more pitcher-friendly this year than last year, according to StatCast Park Factors, this isn't really surprising. On the other hand, despite hitting the ball harder than most teams, the combination of a low line drive rate, high 3 true outcome rate, and unfavorable ballpark factors has transformed this offense from above average to below average, and in some aspects, awful. So the question is, can this be fixed? Well, at the trade deadline, Randy Arozarena was brought in for the next couple seasons, a player who at his best is a consistent extra base hit and speed threat. Plus, the seemingly inconsequential acquisition of Victor Robles provided a much needed offensive boost to this lineup between June and July, earning him a 2-year extension. However, as his production has fallen over the past few weeks, this offense has been plagued by inconsistency, ultimately dropping their playoff odds to just over 11%. While volatility characterizes an MLB season, the 5.5 game divisional deficit the Mariners find themselves in is very likely insurmountable. Now, they did just walk off the Giants and are now 4.5 games back, raising their playoff odds a bit as well. But this in itself represents a big chunk of the problem. The Mariners are counting on the innate volatility of the MLB season to go their way for their future success. After missing the playoffs last year, team president of baseball operations Jerry Dipoto laid out his 10-year plan to win at least 54% of games every year, around 87 to 88 wins per year, further adding that they were doing the fans a favor by prioritizing sustainability over a longer period rather than going all in for a couple years. Considering the 2023 Mariners won 88 games and failed to make the playoffs, this didn't exactly go well with fans. Dipoto later clarified his comments by saying, "Our goal isn't to be mediocre. Our goal is to win championships and then to play at a high level for a long time. That's what I was trying to convey." On one hand, I don't completely disagree with what he's saying. To win 54% of games over a long period of time isn't easy. Plus, the recently expanded playoff structure gives more teams the chance to win a championship due to the randomness of the postseason. On the other hand, fans don't want to hear about sustainability. Decades of heartbreak define the Seattle Mariners, so simply hoping a World Series run emerges out of this playoff window instead of ownership actually spending and doing everything possible to win a title is a slap in the face to the fans. As Cal Raleigh put it after missing the playoffs last season, we have to commit to going and getting those players you see other teams going out and getting. Big-time pitchers, big-time hitters. We have to do that to keep up. We've done a great job of growing some players here and within the farm system, but sometimes you've got to go out and you have to buy. The 2024 Mariners offense is uniquely and frustratingly flawed in a number of ways, from a historically awful strikeout rate, to an over-reliance on the 3 true outcomes, to the fact they hit the ball harder than most, but don't produce the expected results, in part due to their incredibly pitcher-friendly ballpark. Overall, the Mariners have the potential to be serious contenders, but until the flaws of this offense are addressed, ideally by adding a legit star, this team will continue to border the line of contender and pretender. It remains to be seen if ownership will splash the cash next offseason to acquire a big bat like Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, or Christian Walker, or will they instead acquire a slumping player like Paul Goldschmidt, Gleyber Torres, or Eloy Jimenez at a discounted price and call it a day. For Mariners fans' sake, I hope it's the former. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.